Hey my friends, it's yours truly, Ashley Beauty, and I am back with another video entitled The Truth About ETS Surgery. And why did I title it The Truth? Well, because when I first started researching ETS surgery, it was more bad reviews than good, like totally bad reviews. But at the same time, although I'm a researcher and I like to take other people's advice and so on and so forth, I always come back to myself. What does Ashley want? Because at the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. When you research, when you take in someone else's consideration, you're only just gathering research. Okay, but ultimately you have to ask yourself, what's going to be best for me? Now, truthfully speaking, my ETS surgery experience was a success. So that's why I title it The Truth, because everything is not necessarily bad. Honestly, I didn't have a bad experience. Now, some reviews that I came upon were things that were expected to happen. Some things are expected to happen, such as like an adverse event, for example. That doesn't necessarily mean that your doctor did something wrong. It just means that this is the risk pertaining to this particular surgery. So in that sense, I don't believe that the ETS surgery should get a bad review if that's the case, because I have read some reviews like that. But at the same time, if you're just speaking on your experience, like, well, maybe I didn't like the result, so that's why my experience is bad, then okay, that's something that I can take. But let's just speak on my truth, which is my success in my ETS surgery, because everyone is different, and I'll tell you why. So let's just start off by saying that I would like to share my doctor's name. My doctor's name is Dr. Mark Block, and he is the chief of thoracic surgery for the Memorial Healthcare System. So I was already impressed because I did my research. I looked up a few doctors, and I was impressed that he was the chief, meaning the leader of the doctors within his division. So that showed me and told me a lot that he was the best surgeon. And he practices for Memorial Healthcare System, and I specifically received my surgery at Memorial Regional Hospital, which is located in Hollywood, Florida. Okay, and speaking of Dr. Mark Block, I do plan on honoring his name by giving the Memorial Foundation a donation in his name. And it's just my way of showing my appreciation for this doctor, and he'll know, and he'll receive a pin that he could wear proudly. So that's what I plan to do. And furthermore, that even shows that I'm just happy with my outcome. So I was on Medline Plus, which I feel is a really trusted, reliable source. For those of you who don't really know what ETS surgery is, if you are an HH sufferer, that's hyperhidrosis sufferer, I can tell you what ETS surgery is, because maybe you try other things but don't know that this is an option for you. I like to call it the cure. So Medline Plus, trusted health information for you. It says endoscopic thoracic sympathectomy. That's what ETS stands for. So endoscopic thoracic sympathectomy is surgery to treat sweating that is much heavier than normal. Hence hyperhidrosis. See, this condition is called hyperhidrosis. Usually the surgery is used to treat sweating in the palms or face. The sympathetic nerves control sweating. The surgery cuts these nerves to the part of the body that sweats too much. So for me, my hyperhidrosis was a problem for me when it came to my hands. So I had PALMAR hyperhidrosis. I used to sweat from my hands, and it affected my life in every way possible. Socially, emotionally, physically, literally every way possible. So, description of the surgery. You will receive general anesthesia before surgery. This will make you asleep and pain-free. The surgery is usually done the following way. The surgeon makes 2 or 3 tiny cuts, incisions, and I'll make sure I put my photo of my incisions here for you to see, under one arm on the side where the excessive sweating occurs. Your lung on this side is deflated, collapsed, so that air does not move in and out of it during surgery. This gives the surgeon more room to work. A tiny camera called an endoscope is inserted through one of the cuts into your chest. Video from the camera shows on a monitor in the operating room. The surgeon views the monitor while doing the surgery. Other small tools are inserted through the other cuts. Using these tools, the surgeon finds the nerves that control sweating in the problem area. These are cut, clipped, or destroyed. So in my case, the incisions were made. Yes, I still do have scars. I have 2 incisions on each side of my underarm, and you can see the scars. They are flat, but they're visible because they're dark. They were darker than this, but they did fade some. They don't bother me. To me, they're like my battle wounds. Like they're a reminder, like, whoa, I overcame hyperhidrosis, so I really don't care. But there is something called Mederma, which is like an ointment that you can get if the scars make you self-conscious. Maybe you can place that ointment on there and it'll help to fade the scar. But in my case, I don't really care. And let's see, my nerves were cut. So my surgery cannot be reversed. So that's the risk that I would say that I had to take. I didn't know where I would be receiving compensatory sweating. And I'll talk about that a little bit more later. So you can also have your nerves clamped. They will put some type of object on the nerve. My guess would be maybe it's made of metal or something. And they will clamp the nerve. So if you choose later on that you want to reverse the surgery, they would just go back in and remove the clamp. But my doctor did not offer that technique or that way. It was cutting, and honestly, I came in saying I want cutting. You know, I knew so much about this surgery that my doctor actually complimented me for being so knowledgeable, but that's how many years I've been researching and taking into account the ways, the different techniques, the doctors. So I already knew. So yeah, where are we? Your lung on this side is inflated. So at this point, the surgery is over. Your lungs are being reinflated. The cuts are closed with stitches, and a small drainage tube may be left in your chest for a day or so. Now for me, if there was a drainage tube in my chest, it was out by the time I woke up in recovery. And the whole point of the drainage tube is to suck out any air that may be trapped in your chest cavity, so you won't feel pressure on your lungs and you won't feel like you can't breathe. And I know these things because for those of you that don't know, I am a registered respiratory therapist. So I think this is one of the reasons that made me not be so reserved when it came to such an invasive procedure for this problem, because I'm not a stranger to the OR or working alongside an MD, putting patients on life support, working with vents, and even seeing chest tubes. But for someone who may not be in that field, I can understand why you would have maybe some reservations to like, whoa, that sounds too invasive. I don't know. Is it worth it? But yeah, so moving on, after doing this procedure on one side of your body, the surgeon may do the same on the other side, which is true for me. I had it both done on both sides because both hands were sweating. The surgery takes about 1 to 3 hours. In my consultation, my doctor told me that the surgery would be no more than 2, but who knows, who cares? You're under general anesthesia, you don't know what's going on. You go under and then you feel like you wake up in 2 minutes. You know how it is. So I will say that when I woke up in the recovery room, I was a little out of it. I was groggy. Of course, being under general anesthesia, I did feel like I couldn't take a deep breath. My breaths were shallow, but being a respiratory therapist, I already knew that I needed to take deep breaths, you know. And of course, that pain is natural, of course, because you just had surgery on your chest. Now, this is an outpatient procedure. I do not agree with it being an outpatient procedure because they make it seem like you can go right back to work like the next day or so, like, or even if they, I don't know if they said the next day or a week. Don't quote me on that, but they make it seem like you can get back to your usual activities real soon. No, not even in a week I couldn't do that. I don't feel like I got full recovery, or at least my definition of full recovery is like when I'm able to move pain-free and get back to all activities. For me, I felt like it took 1 month for me to feel like, whoa, I can get up. I don't need a warm compress. I don't need the prescription medication that they give me for pain. I can just get up and do my own thing and I'm fine. I don't even think twice about the surgery. For me, that took 1 month to get there. I do recommend that you have somebody with you. Of course, they're going to tell you that you cannot drive home. Of course, you've just been under anesthesia. You cannot drive. So make sure you have somebody with you that can drive you home. And I would recommend at least if somebody can stay one night over with you, I would recommend that too. And then be there like at least until lunchtime the next day, because you're not going to want to get up and make breakfast and do things for yourself. It is true that anesthesia could make you feel nauseous. The car ride home made me feel nauseous, and it wasn't until I got home that I actually vomited, but I only vomited once. And yeah, pretty much you just want to lay there because you're in pain, you can barely breathe. Talking just made me feel out of breath. So that's how you know you really need to rest. I don't agree that this should be an outpatient procedure. I feel like they should monitor you at least one night in the hospital, and maybe discharge you the next evening, the next day. But that's just what it is, because this is no. Let's see, what else can we talk about? I say when you're researching your doctor, you should if you need to go on more than one consultation, do that. You don't have to go with the first doctor you sit down with. This is an interview for your health, for your life. You're trusting somebody to go under, So you need to make sure you have a board certified doctor. I was lucky to have a surgeon who was the chief in his division. And I say ask questions. I would recommend that you make a notebook and write down every single question that you want to ask the doctor. And bring a pen and write notes. And if the doctor is hasty with you and he's pushing or like she's pushy and don't want to answer questions and feel like their ego is so up that they can't answer your questions, that's not the doctor for you. Get some doctor that's encouraging for you, because Dr. Block was very encouraging for me to ask questions. He was easy to talk to. He invited the questions, and like I said, he complimented me for being so knowledgeable on the procedure. I was ready to get to the point. Like, what's our surgery day, doc? So my insurance did fully cover this procedure. I'm sure the price will vary according to the doctor or the facility that you choose to go to. But it's best to have the doctor verify if your insurance is going to cover it. If you don't do it yourself, you can call your company yourself. But I say go ahead and go on that free consultation, ask all your questions, and get the office to verify this information for you, because they do a better job at it. Let's see. I would say, let me see. My surgery was back in January of 2019. We are now in June 2019. So that was 5 months ago, and I feel completely fine. Like I said, I felt fully recovered after 1 month. I did have one follow-up after I did the surgery. So I can't remember if it was 1 week post or 2 week post or whatever, but I know I did have one follow-up post-surgery to talk to the doctor. As far as compensatory sweating, like I said, that's the risk you take when you choose to have this surgery, because naturally our bodies have to sweat. So, because that's how we cool ourselves down. When the body feels overheated, we sweat, and that's how we cool ourselves down. So I can't not ever sweat again in life. You have to sweat. So now that my sweat does not come from my hands, it's going to have to reroute and find somewhere else to go to. It doesn't just disappear. So now, the compensatory sweating takes place on my back and on the back of my legs. And more so is on the back of my legs than it is on my back. And I don't mean in a hyperhidrosis sufferer kind of way. Like, I don't just sweat from my back. I don't just sweat from my legs. I literally have to be just too hot. You know, even if it's warm, I'm not going to sweat all profusely how I used to. If it's truly too hot, I'm going to start sweating from the back of my legs and a little bit from my back. And I'm completely fine with that because, you know, I would rather sweat there than to sweat from my hands. I have to interact with people, and it was always embarrassing to me to sweat from my hands, and it was also a hindrance for me. So I would take that any day. That's the risk I was willing to take. It is a gamble. You can't predict, nor can the doctor predict where you're going to sweat from. That's just a surprise after the surgery. So I think that's really the biggest risk you take as far as the surgery goes itself. I'm not speaking on mishaps like a doctor leaving a tool inside of your body or something. For me, I truly feel like when it comes pertaining to the surgery, that's the risk you take. You just don't know where you're going to sweat from. You know, so you may not be happy with where you sweat from, but if it was such a problem like it was for me, then you're not going to care. Just as long as you're not sweating from that problem area, you know? So, also, after the surgery, my left chest and my upper back felt numb. Now it's just like, I would say sensitive. And it's like day by day. Like this is one of those surgeries that day by day it gets better. Day by day it gets better. I say I'm fully recovered because I have no pain. But as far as the left side of my chest and upper back, it's just slightly sensitive. And before, it was more sensitive than this, where it felt numb, but I can't say it feels numb. So the way how I can describe it more to get you to kind of understand, I think that, because, you know, like when I touch my right upper chest, it feels more like a direct touch. When I touch my left, I can feel it, but it doesn't feel how it just felt when I touched the right side. And I also describe it as sensitive because I think that, you know, if I was to get like a tattoo or something on my left chest, it probably would be more painful than if I would have got it on my right chest. That's the best way I could try to describe it for you. But it's not a deal breaker for me. You know, this is something that I can live with. Let's see. We spoke on it being an outpatient procedure. Like I said, I didn't agree with that. Have someone to help you. Overall, I just want to end this by saying that I'm happy with my procedure. The compensatory sweating on legs and back, I can live with. That slightly sensitive feeling on my left side, I can live with. And I just want to say to anyone who's considering this surgery to do your research. Yes, you're going to come across bad reviews. And if it's like it was any time when I was doing research, it might be more bad than good. You're going to find some horror stories. I'm not saying don't take those things into account. I'm saying take all things into account. But at the end of the day, exercise all your resources, not just the reviews, but take advantage of the free consultations. To go talk to a doctor is free. Ask them questions. Ask them any and every question. And then at the end of the day, ask yourself, is this surgery really worth the risk? Is this hyperhidrosis problem really that much of a problem for me? Can I live with this? Can I not live with this? And depending on your individual answer to these questions, because at the end of the day, you have to live with whatever you decide to do, then that's the route that you should go. You know, in my case, I'm a risk taker, and I did feel like this was a major problem for me that I could not deal with. I did feel like this was a hindrance to me. I felt like the procedure was worth the risk, and I went ahead, and I don't feel like I took a chance. I feel like I made a great decision. I didn't take a chance because I found a great surgeon, and I knew I was in good hands. And if you do that, then you'll be in great hands as well. But just do what you feel is best for you. And definitely, I'll always tell you to pray about it, because I definitely prayed about it. So that's all for now. I'll see you guys next time, or talk to you guys next time rather. Good luck to you in your journey, and I hope you find peace and you get through whatever it is that you're trying to get through. I love you guys, and if you have any questions for me, go ahead and ask me. You can comment below. I love to see what it is that you're thinking, and anything that you're going through, just share with me, because I love to share. If you have a question for me, definitely I'll answer it. Remember, you can follow me on Instagram at Ashley Beauty Official, and I am also on Facebook at Ashley 3 times, spelled Ashley 3X. I love you. See you next time. Mwah.